I want to tell you a story, a real life scenario. A young lady from a wealthy Indian parent goes abroad to the US to study. She calls her father up on month 2. And she says, "Dad, I have a little problem." He said, "Yeah, everything is okay, everything is okay. I've got a boyfriend." So the dad is a conservative family. He says, "What's happening?" What's he like? Is he studying economics in Stanford where she was? Well, he's actually a rock singer. Oh, okay. I mean, is it a big band? He's actually doing the bars in the midnight to 2 a.m. run. And then he says there's something else. "What's it, daughter? What's it?" He says, I'm kind of in love with him. And it's about 3 months, and you get into that period when you quite don't know what happens. She said, he says, "Are you pregnant?" He says, "Dad, I'm not sure." In the meanwhile, the dad collapses. His wife is administering smelling salts to make him recover. Then he finally gets up and he says weakly, "Beti, ye kya hua? What happened?" She said, "Dad, everything is all right. None of these things. I'm not pregnant." He's hallelujah. "And I'm not getting married to this guy, and I don't love him." Whoa! And then she says, "Actually, I failed in 3 classes, in 3 subjects." And he said, "Thank God." So taking off from this issue about needs, what you realize is we're so worried about the negatives that relief and happiness is not have something bad happen to us. So I totally resonate with pretty much all that's taken place in terms of all the different concepts, which are needs, restraints, and dreams, unfettered thinking. And it's what you do when you're a child. That's why children dream. The child is father of the man. But you take that one step forward, and let's look at dreams in the context of India. I spent my early years in India, London Business School, and IIT and London Business School, and then I went abroad. My father comes from a simple middle-class family, so I saw what it meant to have 1,000 rupees at home and worry about how I could afford a full trouser, which required at that time the princely sum of 70 rupees. But if you really look back, my first experience with Pepsi was not really about brand Pepsi, but was really about the farmers, because we had to create 80,000 tons of fruit and vegetable. And in creating 80,000 tons of fruit and vegetable, which would be processed, we really needed to understand how the farmer worked. And despite whatever Pepsi said about having technology, Pepsi had squat, nothing, nada, zip. But what happened, therefore, we had to create a knowledge about what Indian farmers were. And Pepsi had allowed me, we brought some New Zealand guys to come inside and determine how to set up a tomato processing plant. We bought a tractor which was 5 times the size of the biggest Mahindra tractor today. It clearly wasn't going to work because the farm lots in India were 1 acre. Because there were different farmers. So you had a crisis. So you really began to understand that everything has to be in context. So whether it's that girl talking to his father or the farmer's vision of what works, it has to be in context. But a dream is without context. Because let's look at the facts. We're all here, and there's not one person from a village. Yet 75% of this country is agrarian, is agriculture. Their dreams. And it's not just about aspiring to go to the US or Boston. It's about the small things. And the real question you learn is, what's going to liberate them to dream? Because they're working when they're children, and they are working basically in their family enterprise, which is their 1 acre farm, which is the lowest cost agricultural producer in the world, because the cost of labor is free. It's the man, his wife, his mother-in-law perhaps. It gives him pleasure to make her work. And then the children. Now you look at it another way. Unless we cut or find a way of realizing some amount of growth in the rural areas, it is going to introduce greater inequality, and I'll tell you why. They're going to migrate into the city, and when you migrate into the city, that's when you hit squalor, filth, and you see the gross inequality of a Mukesh Ambani's home and a slum next door. And I think that struck me, because life in the village has dignity. It may not have what you have, but it has dignity. And there's pride in it. So dreams can only happen when you have pride. Otherwise, it gets squelched down. I'll give you a personal example. When I finished London Business School, I thought I was a hotshot. I went to the Middle East. And I know I've visited 93 countries. I've worked in lots of them, and I speak a lot of languages. So I went to the Middle East, and this distributor as a Procter & Gamble executive. And I thought I was a hotshot, right? Procter, IIT, Mera, Jaisa Kaun hai? Who else is like me? First visit, land up, and Raja Abulji Bent told me, Mr. Roberts, what can this boy do for me? Yani, Indians are the ABC of life. ABC. Aya, bearer, cook. So, that's equality, buddy. Forget this shit about saying all men are equal. I thought it was more George Orwell. All animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. And that's really where it comes down to it. So, if you actually take that forward, and you try to cut the divide, I think there is a triangle that we have to change. One is in village. Two, it's in terms of his ability to keep him there on a sustainable level. And three, it's women, rural women. That's the uncovered Shakti. Shakti in Sanskrit is typified as power, but it's also symbolized in a woman. So if you look at the Hindu pantheon, the ultimate is Om, but below that you have Shakti, which a lot of us will recognize as a female Devi form, the mother goddess, and below that you have the Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara, which is the creator, the preserver, and the destroyer. So I think agriculture, number two, is sustainable living, and number three is women. There's something which I learned early in life. This was through an interesting experience when I was with Pepsi. They came out in 3 lines. You can make small changes to small things. What happens? What's the result? Anybody? Nothing. Small changes to big things. What happens then? Anybody? Incrementality. You want to make change? It's big changes to big things. It's revolution. It's control. And I think that is it. For example, this creating anarchy within a shop floor appeals to me, because that created that kind of thought process of a comprehensive new thinking. When I was with Pepsi, I almost got fired a number of times, but one time I particularly enjoyed. We had been asked to reproduce Ray Charles' commercial. You got the right one, baby, uh-huh. And this was his obviously blind, dark singer. It goes like this, and he goes, and these 3 sirens, they say, aha, in the background. Beautiful. I wish I had brought the commercial. So we're wondering, what the hell does this mean? Doesn't make sense. So we kind of morphed it a little bit. And we came up with this beautiful line. This is absolutely hilarious. And I'll show you that commercial, or maybe next time. He says, Yehi hai right choice, baby, aha. That hybridized. We didn't know what we did, but we transformed India from an advertising. MTV, which was all this boring English music, Western music, pardon those who are from there. But this is India. And it was boring as hell, and nobody connected with it. But the moment you said, Yehi hai right choice, baby, aha, what happened? You empowered a generation who said, this is mine. I'm English. I don't have the divide between the English and the vernacular. Once that's gone, you have cut the ice, and Pepsi became the choice of a new generation. And ye dil mange more, and all the other stuff. Some of the new commercials I don't like so much, but basically, it's not about television. It's about the mindset. So now I'd like to go back and tell you briefly what I'm doing is two things to try to make this happen. My business is owned by a charity. So I really have one interest is to try and do something worthwhile and also leave whatever I have back to charity. The two thoughts I'm working on are Ayurveda and Agri. Agri started back, and today we have about 25,000 farmers who are supplying product that at its highest end, we are shipping 525 containers as we speak from Nasik to Holland, Germany, and so on, table fruit, grapes. And that has been an interesting exercise because we had to teach the illiterate farmer that he cannot use certain pesticides which are not Euro compliant. Because if you're not Euro compliant, your container gets turned back and you've lost a shirt. We've lost before. So we've put up all the different things, testing it at the farm level, 15 days before harvesting, at the packing site, and whatever. But what happens is amazing. I have learned with great humility that the guy in the village is incredibly intelligent. He's got it geared inside. We're also, buying carrots from them and finding ways of doing two things. And this exercise, so we do about 100,000 tons of fruit and vegetable this year, and this is a 2-year-old business. And we haven't put that much money in it. But we found a lot of infrastructure, cold storages, which people don't use because they're all looking at it from a corporate mindset. Much of corporate India has gone into agriculture and failed because they don't understand the mindset. But let me give you an explanation on how this actually fits inside. When we did Pepsi, we did this big project to increase the tomato output. I was called Ramesh Vangal. And the guys in the Punjab, the farmers, are a hearty lot. They love to drink, dance, and it was a great time. But you feel terrific connection. You feel it. And you create an energy in them. And they start thinking big. And I think that's really the key. So it's not about you and me thinking big. It's about making the guy who is way below think big and show him the pathway. It's the old analogy. Don't give him fish, but teach him how to fish. And in the moment you do that, you change it, you keep it within his background. The second problem that you have is in terms of sustainability. I find, I'm 56, I'm actually quite fit despite my advancing years, and I'm probably the oldest in this place, with all apologies to the two gentlemen there who look older but probably younger. And the primary reason is 4 or 5 years ago, I began to recognize that, there is something else in life, a balance. So mind, body, spirit balance. I went into Ayurveda and yoga, and I've got an Ayurveda business, which is actually quite, for me, personal stunning, because all my health markers, which were on the borderline, have all come back into the pink of health, and I just got insurance for a lot of money to protect my son in case something happens to me, and he's an autistic child. He's my only child. So as such, once I've done that and I feel pretty good about it, I begin to recognize that Ayurveda has something in it. So what I learned, forget about looking forward on the basis of new experimentation. Just like when you dream, a child dream, its genetic DNA influences its dreams. I think in our country, let's not look at our fathers and grandfathers. Let's look at 1,000 generations behind. I think this country figured it all out. And there's a lot of beauty in it. I'll give you a simple line from the Gita. Karmanyeva adhikarastu ma phaleshu kadachana. And this is not something because I'm a Sanskrit aficionado. I didn't know my ass from my elbow about Sanskrit 3-4 years ago. But I've learned it. And all it says is very simple. It says, attach yourself to the effort, not in the fruit of the effort. The moment you remove the expectations, you remove the attachments, you liberate your mind. And in which case, you come up to saying, if you can dream it, you can do it. Thank you.